Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 43 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 2, the penultimate round of this season. So this is a very important race weekend, sets us up for the finale. Technically, mathematically, we could seal both championships today if the race went really that well, but I doubt it because the likes of Ferrari in the hands of Leclerc especially been rapid, and Mercedes also have been looking strong. They were obviously a little bit weaker last episode with Bottas having a DNF and Hamilton scoring very low points. But we look at the pattern for the last few races, Mercedes have basically had one great race, a calamity, and another great race. So if the patterns to continue, they'll have a great race this weekend. And Brazil is typically a really good place for the AI. So I expect Leclerc and both of those guys to be strong, even Vettel, of course, and the Red Bulls, because they've been improving as well on their R&D chart, of course. So there's a lot of obstacles and a lot of, things in our way to be able to seal out this episode. But we're going to try our best as per usual. But we've got a lot of time then on the left-hand side on the activity timeline before we go to Sao Paulo. So just going to fill that out nicely with some race simulations for 3 days for science, and then just kind of choosing the best, in my opinion, of what to do currently for the team. For acclaim-wise, we're quite close to level 20. I suspect maybe by the time we finish the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, potentially we could hit level 20 and unlock that 4th sponsor slot. But to be fair, money's not really been too much of an issue at the moment, but it may do, but it may be in the next season, of course, when we start to maybe get our HQs up to Spec 3. Those all cost, upward of $12 to $15 million. So we're going to need plenty of cash coming in to actually be able to afford those upgrades as we move forward. Right now, it's not really bottlenecking us. But speaking about upgrades, we've always got that pending DRS upgrade we purchased last episode. We rushed that development, and that comes in time for this episode, hopefully. Obviously, it could fail because we did rush it, but hopefully it doesn't, and we can get that on the car, because as I said, it was going to be quite useful in traffic, as we have been quite lately. We've been in traffic, we've been in the mid-pack in the top 10. That DRS upgrade will hopefully help us get past cars a little bit quicker and get that straight line speed kind of emphasis we used to have earlier on this season, and also in qualifying as well. It could help us out over one lap, in straight line, with DRS being more effective every time we open it. But as you can see, going into this one, we are looking somewhat okay versus Leclerc and Mercedes as well, so that's why we could mathematically round this out. But we go on then through the activity timeline. Thankfully, the upgrade there did not fail, so we do have that upgrade. So we've had a really good run as of late. I think that's now the last 4 or 5 upgrades. We've all rushed development, and they've all come through. So our team, the morale's very, very high. They're working flat out to make sure we can try and, get this championship in the first time of asking for the team's history. So clearly working well there. But we move on into the race weekend then and look at the R&D chart. We're actually going to look into the zoomed-in version of the chart that's on the email here, because it gives us obviously a much clearer picture of where we are. So that small upgrade, the minor or major upgrade actually, of the DRS flap from Mexico to Brazil there, gets us quite close to Mercedes. On the bigger graph, that may just be on the same, like we won't be able to distinguish that on the bigger graph, but here in detail you can see we're just underneath them. But saying that though, I also noticed, quite strangely, this graph and the large one doesn't really correlate. They're not really the same. They give a different picture, because apparently according to the zoomed in one, AlphaTauri have upgraded quite a fair bit, and they're ahead of Racing Point and McLaren and Renault, but on the larger chart they're not. So I have no clue. So I think that also means maybe from this point onwards in the series, unless they patch it, I don't know, can we really even look at the R&D graph anymore and really see where we are? I mean, it would make a lot of sense because Ferrari apparently way down there, but of course they've been mega. But as I've mentioned before, it may just be the fact that Leclerc is 100 rated versus Vettel, because there's obviously a discrepancy of Leclerc's won multiple races, whereas Vettel's only won 1 in the last kind of 7 episodes. So it may just be him being absolutely mega, and as I said, that's why potentially that's a person we might be looking to sign at the end of the season. But I digress. That's a conversation for later on, next episode, after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is done and dusted. But continuing on then in this race weekend, going towards qualifying, it will be sunny at the start of qualifying, but there is forecast for some rain halfway through the day, so we might have intermediates and the full wets even on show in Q2 and Q3, so that might be a spanner in the works for all of us. But I'm going to say me, because always it seems like it's a very difficult task to match the AI in the wet conditions, of course, so we'll try our best. But honestly, I would have rather it be dry, but it's what we get. We have to deal with it. For the moment though, in Q1 it is very sunny. Up ahead we've got some traffic though involving my teammate and his former teammate Lando Norris, so we go around the outside and we get blocked off by STINT, so very unfortunate there. There's no need for that. He's on an outlap, I'm pretty sure, so I don't know why he didn't get out of the way in the same way he did for Lando Norris. and that ruined my first lap, so I have to go out again, I'm pretty sure. But here you can see I get out of the way, he's on a hot one, and I completely go off track to get out of his way. So I don't know what that was about, a bit of lack of respect there on the first run. But second run now comes through, you can see it's so much darker now, so the clouds are coming in, the rain is on the way, but at the moment it's dry, and for us across the line for the second time now, and we do finally get up into a higher position to get into Q2. That was actually on the same set of soft tyres, I must say, so we didn't actually burn another set of softs, but it doesn't matter because it's going to start raining. It has started raining actually in the background of this results screen, so I actually could have probably gone to another set of soft tyres if I wanted to, but I just used the same set and just kind of prove the fact that how much time I lost with science. But now on the first run in Q2 then, I filled up the car with enough fuel for 2 laps in a row, because you can see clearly I'm having to get used to the circuit. Everyone will, as they do in real life. You kind of, you know, suss out where the grip is and get a feeler for the circuit, and then generally also fill up for more laps in real life as well. So we've done that as well, just trying to get a feel for the throttle pedal, really, just trying to see where the grip is, or the lack of, really. And so that first run, pretty slow, but into turn 1 already feeling a bit more confident on the braking, but then especially on the exit of here, on the throttle, that's where we're going to gain time here, because a little bit more smooth on that right foot of mine, and we're able to gain, you know, 4 tenths, nearly 5 tenths there, just in one corner exit. So that's how powerful it is to go out for 2 runs in a row. So definitely, if you're doing that in yourself, for your My Team career modes, I recommend you do that anytime it is kind of wet in qualifying. Definitely go out for 2 laps in a row, because you can really find some time and kind of almost go against yourself, basically, where you lost the time. And so we're up into P4 there. Pretty decent showing, I would say. Surprisingly, actually. We're down to P7 then by the time we get through halfway through this second session. At the moment, as it stands, Hamilton is out of the top 10, so he's really got to get a move on. Sainz sets a lap there. He's up into P2, I believe, as it stands. But right now, Hamilton is out. He's going to be out if he doesn't set a lap time. And I thought that no one was going to go out, because potentially it's starting to rain even more than it was before, because we've got 3 icons for rain on the bottom right. But to my surprise, Lance Stroll then goes out last minute on another set of inters, Hamilton as well. So I thought I need to go, because I'm P7. There's maybe a chance someone below me, like Hamilton, gains enough time. They only need to gain about 3 tenths to get to where I am, basically, on the timesheet below me. So I had to go out. We drove out because we were right on the cusp of making it. And so here we are then on that 3rd lap, this is. But it's not much better. And as I said, it was raining more, so I couldn't improve my time. Hamilton did, though. So in the end of it, thankfully, we do make it through. We went down 1 more position, P8, but it's fine. 7 and 8, though. That's a little bit worrying to say that's where our pace is in the wet, and it's going to be wet in Q3. So we may not be ideally placed for Sunday's grid, and that's why I say, you know, even though technically, yeah, we could round out the championship, I'm going to kind of downplay it and think I don't think we're going to do it this episode. I think it's going to go till that final round. I would obviously be easy in terms of less pressure for me if we could do it this race, but just looking at that, it seems like everyone has a lot of pace in the wet. Even you know, I'm matching Sainz. I'm there with him on the same road technically in Q2. So it seems like that's just where the car is, let alone just me versus the AI. So at the start of Q3, it was actually time for full wets. Like you can see, everyone's out on the blue wall, full wet tyres, but it was going to get drier by the end of the session. So that's what I did. I just waited. There was no point going out on another set of full wet tyres. So across the line for us, we fueled up again for 2 laps in a row. That first lap was good enough for provisional pole, but now everyone is setting those laps on intermediates. Ricciardo goes fastest. Gasly's beat me in the AlphaTauri. So the AlphaTauri is looking very, very rapid for me. I've not gained too much time in Sector 1. Hamilton now goes on pole. We gain enough time in Sector 2 and 3 to go nearly 5 tenths quicker on this second lap. Will it be enough, though? We're P9 right now across the line. I think I saw P10 then. So even though I improved my lap time, others behind me still setting lap times, and they go better. And yep, that is where we are. And Charles Leclerc at the end of it, we didn't see it live in the session, but by the end of it, the race results show, or the qualifying results show rather, that Leclerc is on pole position. Unsurprisingly, he's been the man of the hour in these last, 8 episodes now, really, and counting. Ricciardo second, though. Mega job for him and Red Bull. Hamilton comes back from the calamity that could have been in Q2 to get on the second row alongside Vettel. But we both get out-qualified. Myself and Sainz get out-qualified by a Renault of Matsushita, the F2 driver who's debuting in Formula 1 this season, and Gasly in AlphaTauri. And we're actually alongside Verstappen at a calamity as well. And we're on that 5th row. So very, very, not odd, because I thought we'd maybe be around P7 and 6 or 8 from Q2's time, but to be P10, having, you know, improved our lap time by half a second is quite demoralising, obviously, every single time. So we have some work to do. There may be some grid penalties to talk about. It's the end of the season, so don't be surprised if we jump up the order a little bit, but still, from there, it's going to be a bit of an ask, really, and if Leclerc gets a win from pole, we are going to be, you know, in some trouble when it comes to the Drivers' Championship. Constructors, I'm not too worried because we have a good cushion to Mercedes, but that Drivers' Championship is getting harder and harder to imagine. Can we hold on? Can we hold on any longer versus a Titanic Leclerc? Let's find out. Let's go to Sunday and see what we do in the race.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junção into one of the two DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of Turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Pierre Gasly and Sainz, Vettel, the owner-driver, Stroll and Lando Norris, Ocon, Russell, Max Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty, and Perez, Albon, Matsushita, Daniel Kvyat and Antonio Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Grosjean, Latifi and Jack Aitken. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So penalties for Sebastian Vettel, Verstappen and Matsushita. Kind of a shame for him. And the Renault man did such a great job to be right up there at the sharp end in the top 10 as a former F2 driver, of course. But he's demoted down the order. So we are elevated to P8, Sainz P6. So kind of where I wanted or thought we would be before Q3 happened. But in terms of tyre strategies, because it got rained out in Q2, we're all on differing tyres. Leclerc and Ricciardo opting for the mediums. I also will opt for the medium tyres. Sainz is opting for softs. But either way, it's apparently still a one-stop from soft to hard or medium to hard, so it just depends on what tyre you prefer. So I feel like the tyre wear is high enough for Brazil where I'm going to go for the mediums. We're going to match the pole sit to Leclerc, kind of cover him off in a way. I say cover off. I honestly don't think we're going to see him this race, but you never know. Hopefully we could. That would be ideal for us, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But we're going to go with what he's going because I think he's going to be the fastest man out there, so we're just going to match his strategy on medium tyres, and hopefully as those soft tyres of Sainz and a few others go off, we can try and make some moves at the end of their stint onto the pit stop window, basically. But it's going to be a case of just driving flat out with a one-stop. There's no kind of clever strategy to pull off here. There's no rain involved. It's just going to be hard and fast racing. And can we try and make up for what was a pretty dismal, let's be honest, qualifying here, and try and put ourselves in a good position for the finale, basically, in terms of the drivers and the constructors. Let's go. Revving up then for the second last time this season to 5 red lights down here in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. 4 lights are out and we're underway. A lot of wheel spin for Sainz there. Slow start, surprisingly. We're going to try and go on the left-hand side of him. Outside of me, Vettel and Gasly. It's 4 wide. We get almost pinched into the wall by Sainz. We continue to go on the outside of Vettel, though, at least, but some contact was made with our teammate, and he's got ahead of Gasly. Meanwhile, Vettel tries to overtake me. That Ferrari rapid in a straight line. Even with ERS deploying, we're unable to match him in a straight line line as we drag race down into Sector 2, down before we go up again into the heart of the next sector, using all the RS we can. Rich Mix dive back down the inside of Vettel, trying to go side by side. We are indeed doing that, and we're banging tyres as we do it. Sidewall to sidewall, so supremely close. Vettel's still there on my inside, so we have to give him this space. We continue to battle on for P7 very hard into the next right-hander. We're able to scrub off a little bit wide left and overtake him fully and get the job done. And now we can look ahead to Pierre Gasly and AlphaTauri, but that was very, very close and nerve-wracking at turn 1. It was 4 wide between myself, Sainz, Gasly and Vettel at one point for a few seconds, and Sainz squeezed me nearly right into the wall there. So that's exactly the opposite of what we needed. We needed to work as a team here this race to try and set ourselves up for glory next race for the finale, but that's the opposite of what happened. But anyway, we made our way through. We survived that nerve-wracking lap 1, and now we're here on lap number 2, chasing after one Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, who's looking very decent these days. But just like in real life at the Belgium Grand Prix just gone, Gasly starting on hard, so we should in theory be able to breeze past him in a straight line, let alone through the corners as well, as we go a little bit wide there on the left, extending the track, as I wasn't too sure which way he was going to go. But we go on the right hand side of him around the outside, going to just try and roll the car through, use the tyre advantage to good use. Gasly does hang around the outside, so we're actually going to still be side by side through the next left-hander. Gasly giving a great old fight here. Vettel's closing up and out the Ferrari. We need to make the pass now, using some overtake mode. DRS was available as well, obviously. It's lap number 3. It's activated, and we're up into P6, and Vettel now has to try and get past him, but it gives us a good old fight to be fair. I was surprised at that with the AlphaTauri, but now we're P6, Sainz P5 at the moment. I believe Leclerc still leads the way ahead of the 2 Mercedes cars, but we've got Sainz ahead of us in P5, chasing after Daniel Ricciardo. So now this is a few laps later, I think 2 or 3 laps it is to be precise, and now Sainz goes for the move on the inside there. So even though Red Bull have improved in the last 2 races, we've still got the overriding pace, and Sainz is able to make the lunge on the inside of turn 1. He's on the soft tyres though, remember. Ricciardo's on medium, so you would expect Sainz to close up and use that tyre advantage to good use, and he might even close up to that man, Lewis Hamilton, who's also on mediums, remember. So Sainz should, in theory, use this period of the race to just get his head down and try and push hard. Meanwhile, as I said, Bottas in second place, but you can see Bottas is keeping Leclerc very honest here in second place, and Hamilton's quite far back. So again, for some reason, Hamilton's been very un-Hamilton-like in the second half of this season. He's really fallen away, and Bottas is keeping within 1 second of the man on pole and leading this race, Leclerc, in that second Ferrari. But for us, lap number 7 on board, you can see, look at the bottom right, we've got some issues here in the car. The front right tyre is really cooking, and it means I can't get a good turn in. I'm getting understeer every corner because that front right tyre is just constantly cooked, basically. Won't have any response, and I need to effectively drive a little bit slower in a way and be easy with the angle of attack into the corners to try and cool the tyre down. We do that by the time we get through to lap number 8, so now I can maybe start pushing, but I've lost, 2-3 laps there. We have to try and manage that and try and rectify that temperature issue, and Ricciardo is now 3 seconds ahead of us, and then Sainz a further 3 seconds ahead of him. So now I'm going to try and see what I can do on this set of tyres, try and close up the gap to Ricciardo if we can, ideally, because we're in no man's land right now, because we've got to really quite away from this man Gasly, who's really holding up the entire pack now of Vettel. You've got the Racing Point, and also Verstappen, who's stuck behind the Racing Point car. So this showing maybe really that maybe it's not the Ferrari car just being so good. Maybe the R&D chart is quite accurate. It's maybe just literally that Leclerc is in fact 100 rated. The game just doesn't show it on the driver market menus, and in the background he is 100 rated due to the personnel upgrades Ferrari have made on their HQ facilities, because Vettel can't get past an AlphaTauri, which I also managed to get past. So it kind of shows maybe that's why you've got that difference in, obviously Leclerc's had about 5 wins now, whereas Vettel's had 1 in the last few races. But back to our POV then, and our race, lap number 12, so 5 laps later, and it's pretty horrid news for me. I've got no pace on these mediums. Ricciardo now is well over 4 seconds ahead of us, and gaining more time, as he's also in the DRS of Sainz, because Sainz's tyres are going off. So Sainz, even though he overtook Ricciardo easily, he's coming back into the range of Ricciardo. That's helping Ricciardo get pulled along with DRS, so I'm just losing more time to the Red Bull man, even though I'm gaining time on Gasly. So we're very much in no man's land. Really unfortunate. I really need something to happen, a safety car, a virtual safety car, or just need to hope that the second stint is much better, because otherwise I'm going to have a very boring and quiet Grand Prix here. And now we're on lap 15. Hamilton is in along with Sainz, then off those soft tyres. I think Hamilton actually may have been on softs. He was on softs actually, so they're both on the same compound, and they both go onto a set of hard tyres, it looks like. So they are doing that one stop, but Sainz was, it looked like, within a second or two of Hamilton, so at least Sainz has got some pace. Maybe he can do something to battle the Mercedes cars, but I'm honestly, at this point in the race, I'm sat here just like, what can I do? What can I do to help the team, my own team out? What can I do to be right up there with Sainz? Because I've got no pace. It kind of, you know, you would have seen, I physically looked so slow, and it's because the tyres just weren't working. The front tyres were overheating again, the rears weren't too great on the exit, and I'd also used a lot of my rich mix trying desperately to catch up to Ricciardo. It just wasn't working. Meanwhile though, I reckon Sainz has a good chance of maybe attacking Hamilton. He's behind that Racing Point car, so there's a bit of traffic for them to navigate, so maybe Sainz can at least try and overtake one Mercedes car this afternoon to give us, you know, a bit of a comfier time going into that final race at Abu Dhabi. But we finally come in for our one and only stop. Ricciardo's in as well, Vettel behind, but he's a little bit further back because he got held up by Gasly a lot. I will say also though, the AlphaTauri of Gasly, I got told on the radio at some point before this pit stop that he actually has a mechanical issue now with the car, so he was even slower. So Vettel did overtake him eventually, but Gasly's trundling around there on hard tyres, slower than he would usually be because he's got some sort of issue. So that may be a hurdle for all of us to get through, because all of us are going to catch him, because he's still going to be out for another few 5-6 laps, I'd say. But we come out just ahead of Giovinazzi then, very thankful too, because we needed that clean air to try and close up to the next cars ahead of us. A bit of traffic for us to contend with. Speaking of traffic, here is Gasly going very slow. The AlphaTauri does hold up Hamilton somewhat to the point where there is Sainz just behind him, and also Ricciardo. So all three of them are within just about 2-3 seconds of each other, so Sainz will have hopefully an opportunity to maybe get on the back and pressurize Hamilton if he can try and get past Gasly. For us though, our race right now is between Perez and Russell up ahead of us. They're on a different strategy. They're going long on the hards like Gasly is, so we need to get past these guys. But once we do, I don't know then. There's a massive amount of clean air, but will I have any pace on these hards? I will say they do feel instantly a lot better and more responsive than those soft tyres, but that may just be the tyre wear difference. But at the moment, I can't actually get past the AlphaTauri because they're actually pretty okay in the corners, and we're just held up. It's very difficult to overtake, obviously, here at Sao Paulo, in real life and even the game in Sector 2. But can I just be patient about this and wait for the climb up the hill, or even dropping down, maybe make a move on the left-hander potentially as we come through nearly flat out in qualifying, or is flat out, and trying to go as flat out as we can in the race here, but unable to make a move on that inside. Instead, just wait, and in the same place we overtook Gasly on lap number 2 or 3 of what it was in the opening stint. Can we try and get his teammate now? DRS open for both of us, but we've got the overspeed there using some overtake mode on the outside. This will be having to roll the car through again, just like we did against his teammate, but this time we get the jump. We push him out wide a little bit with the elbows on the left-hand side, and now we get a good slingshot onto the back of George Russell in the Alfa Romeo car. He goes defensive on the inside. We're coming at a rate of knots on the outside. Get to the apex, pinch him through, and we're up into P7. But we've got now 3.7 seconds to Gasly, and then a few more seconds to Ricciardo. So this is now potentially where the race gets a bit dull for us. I don't know about that. We're going to catch up to Gasly though on lap 20. We're not showing insane pace right now, but to be fair, I caught Gasly pretty much within a lap or two, so I'm already getting hit with some dirty air and being held up by how slow he is. I mean, you can see how slow he is because I practically push him through that left-hander, so he's still definitely got mechanical issues. But we are now released from Pierre Gasly on lap number 20. We've got 16 laps to go, and this was a crucial part in the race where I had to decide whether I wanted to basically give up and just say, you know, this is where I am. I had a horrendous first stint. I lost 5 seconds to Ricciardo on those medium tyres, and this is where I'm just going to be. I'm going to have a no man's land race and just be here, or I could dig deep and try my hardest to push hard and see what I could do on the hard tyres. They felt better. In theory, obviously, the compound is harder, so you can lean on the compound more. And so even though I was having issues on the front tyres on the mediums, I may not have the same issues on the hard tyres because they're a harder compound, so the temperature is not affected as much because I'm leaning on them in the same way. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to give it everything we've got, not worry about tyre wear. The hard tyres can take it. And on lap 23 already, we're seeing improvements here. The gap was 4.9. The gap is now 3.6, you can see on the top left there. So we are catching Ricciardo actually at a really decent rate. And the tyres feel great. It's the first time I'll say it. I actually love these hard tyres. It's the best race tyre I felt for this car in this season at Sao Paulo was the best race tyre. I could lean on them. There was no issues with turning. There was no understeer. You can see on the bottom right, we're kind of on the edge of fuel, so I'm having to use rich mix tactically, but we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix onto lap 24, and we continue to do that again on the subsequent lap on lap 25. So we are flying right now. We're the fastest man on the track as we're playing around with fuel, rich mix on the straight, lean mix in sector 2. We're driving to perfection right now, and I guess you could say we're kind of getting inspired a little bit by our teammate, because he's going for a move now. This is further up the road on Lewis Hamilton, and he's gone down the inside there. So Hamilton is really not been quick at all in this race. His teammates there pressurizing the Ferrari for first place, but he's down here getting overtaken by my teammate. But there we are. Meanwhile, there is Ricciardo, and you can see in the background I'm chasing after him and trying to close this gap on lap 27 then. So what's that, about 6 laps after we started to, push and pass Gasly? We're within range now. We're just over 1 second away from Daniel Ricciardo. We are making a comeback in this race. This has honestly been one of the best stints I've ever driven on this game, or in this career mode, period. Another fastest lap of the Grand Prix on lap 28. I am even going so well that I tell Jeff to shut up because he keeps telling me about tyre wear. I just tell him on the voice control, shut up, I don't want to hear any of it. I just want to concentrate on the driving because we are flying here, and these tyres and this car is actually now working a treat in tandem here. I don't know, the sun's gone down, maybe the cooler temperatures are helping. It is maybe just a case of the tyres. This is the better compound here for our car. Whatever the case, all these things add up to us now. Lap 29, going across the line for another purple lap time, but more so, we're side by side, and we overtake Daniel Ricciardo, and in a flash, somehow, I look ahead of me, and Hamilton's just up the road, 1.6. We've got 7 laps left. We could get Hamilton. We could get up into P4. Sainz has already done a mega job to be in a podium position, but we could legitimately get Hamilton, and we could get a 3-4 here in this Grand Prix, which would be a mega recovery considering how slow I looked in stint 1. I looked so bad. This is a mega recovery. Another purple lap 30, and we're there. We're within 1 second of Hamilton. Now we've just got to try and stay within 1 second over this lap, and onto lap 31, I'm confident we can overtake him and get the P4. Just got to keep within 1 second and not lose time, not make a mistake. Hopefully the tyres keep in check. You can see I'm constantly adjusting the fuel levels and tapping overtake mode here and there where I've sussed out where I need to, push it, because it's going to be different for every car where you need to use ERS. So I've kind of over these laps sussed out where best is for me to deploy ERS, and also where best to put the car on lean, save the fuel, and then also put it in rich when I can. But basically, once I overtook Ricciardo, I just kept it in rich mix, and so that's why we're, over minus 0.4 in fuel, but I know the car can save that fuel. We've done the upgrades, so at the moment, I'm just going lean in sector 2, but I'm going to be rich all the way through this last sector, and we're just going to gun it, and then as soon as we overtake Hamilton, hopefully, we're just going to put it down to lean mixture, save that fuel, and bring it home. But here we are, then we've got to get the job done first, but we're absolutely gunning it on the right-hand side, and we just breeze past him, and we're up into P4 of the Brazilian Grand Prix. What a recovery, what a second stint. Like I said, I honestly believe this was one of the best stints I've ever done on this game, because I was shockingly slow on those mediums, but we just set purple lap after purple lap on these hards whilst having low fuel, like having to judge the rich mix. And then I obviously just went for the kamikaze rich mix once I could be within 1 second Ricciardo. And so here we are then, looking to save fuel now, lean mix, lifting and coasting somewhat. And now we're on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. I've lost my fastest lap because Leclerc has taken that, obviously, being in the Ferrari at the front, and the AI always like to use the ERS a lot more on the last lap to try and bag that fast lap. So I've tried to save some fuel, and I used the DRS from Latifi to try and give me any kind of chance of having the fast lap. We go green first sector. It is possible to get a fast lap and still only post greens somehow for some reason in this game. So we're going to continue pushing and see if we can maybe do it. But the tyres are now starting to go off a little bit, and also I've just lost that momentum because obviously I was trying to save fuel, and you can see with that lock up there, we've not got quite the same, you know, oomph we had basically on the lead up to that overtake. But it doesn't matter, you know, we've done a job that we need to do. We've both got past at least one Mercedes car, so that's going to help us out so much for next episode. That's going to put us in a great spot for the constructors. But for the Drivers' Championship, let's remember Leclerc wins another race this season. But for us, to get up into P4, we've just done the biggest damage limitation we could have possibly done. The only better thing would have been if STINT could slow down for us and we could swap positions. But unfortunately, there's no team orders or ability to tell him that, tell the AI teammate. So we'll take the P4, limit the damage to him. But I think it's going to be so close now in that Drivers' Championship going into the final round. But what a second stint for us. It was needed. A miracle last stint.
So, another excellent win from Ferrari. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So there he is again, the familiar face on the top step in red. Leclerc wins, I think, his 6th or 7th race of this. I don't even know anymore how many he's won, but he's won another one in a row because he won Mexico and then won this one here. But for us, P4, STINT P3, ahead of Hamilton. Really good work as a team to do that. But then for me personally, you know, I was nowhere. 5 seconds back from Ricciardo on that first stint, and we somehow reeled in Hamilton. And so in the Drivers' Championship, look at that. Going into the final race then at Abu Dhabi next time out, there is a 5-point difference. And you got to think, if Leclerc's he's gonna be up there for the race win, you would say, at Abu Dhabi. You know, it's 7 points between a win and second. So if he wins it and I get second at Abu Dhabi, that's it. It's a straight fight basically at Yas Marina. It's going to be a straight race. There's no maths to do. It's whoever wins the race, whoever wins the race will win the championship. Maybe obviously if we're both down the order, it'll be different, but I doubt that. I know for a fact Leclerc, he's been so consistent. There's no way he's not up there for the race win unless he has a penalty on the grid that puts him down the order. He has a DNF or whatever, but we don't know that. We won't be able to tell until we get to it basically. Constructors-wise, it's a lot more comfy. Mathematically, Mercedes could still technically win the championship, but you would say probably they're not going to. Unless me and STINT have a double DNF, they're not going to. I think we're looking very comfy, which is awesome to say. It's our first time of asking of going for a championship in this aarava Archer Racing team, in the second season only of my team. I think we've done a sensational job this season. Yes, there's been some, you know, obstacles to overcome. There's been some speed bumps in the second half of the season. It's been a bit chaotic, and it's made it interesting, but a little bit uncomfy at times. But we're still there, and me and STINT, we're just got to bring it home next race. But the real big pressure is on the Drivers' Championship now, which I didn't think it was going to be. I thought honestly the pressure was going to be on the constructors going into this race, seeing the last few how they panned out, but it looks like all the pressure is actually on me individually to just bring it home for myself as a driver, because in the constructors, it's the team, you know, it's my team, so I care about it, but the drivers is my own individual accolade. Can I bring that home versus Leclerc? A 100 rated Leclerc, it seems like, because he's been absolutely mega. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out next episode. But guys, if you did enjoy this one, the second last race that sets up the finale, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today, and I'll see you guys next time for the finale of Season 2, 2 Championship Deciders. Till then, goodbye.